And let me say a pleasant good evening and welcome for the first time on The Observer, the political leader of the Progressive Empowerment Party, PEP, Mr. Phillip Edward Alexander. Pleasant good evening to you, Mr. Alexander.
Good evening, Mikee. Good evening to all your viewers, local and around the world, all your followers online. It's a pleasure to finally make my debut on this most powerful evening show on social media.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Great job with The Observer. It's a massively high standard compared to what we're accustomed to. Great job.
Thank you so much for that. Coming from you, it means a lot to me, and I really mean that. First of all, I mean, you've always been out there as a social activist. You've always been outspoken. But I want you to sum it up for me this evening. Who is Phillip Edward Alexander?
Boy, my father raised 5 children who are all activists. My brother, Dr. Alexander, is a global activist. He's about stop Dr. Fauci from injecting the world. Those of you who don't know who Dr. Alexander is, you can Google him. My sisters, I have 3 sisters, all have been in some form of activism. That's how my family was for us growing up. And I mean, we grew up around the church, we grew up in the community, we were part of the Woodbrook Action Committee with Clive Patton. My family was in the ONR, you know, the church having barbecue. My mother was a foundation member of the Living Water community. My parents have been community people for all of my life, and so we've grown up in that, and that's what we've known. And my father used to tell us things like, bloom where you're planted, and to do so much is given, much is expected, and we lived that, so it's just been natural. The path to politics was a circuitous one, because I tried to help every political party and every politician, and I tried to help everybody to get us to a place where we could have a better country for all of us, because I firmly believe Trinidad and Tobago is the best country in the world. I believe Trinidad as an island, there is nothing like it anywhere, and I've spent my years on this planet watching us destroy it to great sadness, and trying to fight for Akil Chambers through the Jericho Project and Justice for Children March. Now we've been doing that for over 30 years, and seeing what the orphans, the handicapped, the homeless go through in Trinidad, because until you dig deep and do a deep dive to the bottom rung of society and see how the people who are not as blessed as we are, how they live, it's only then if you have a heart you realize that this is not proper, this is not right. A country this wealthy, Trinidad at one point in time, actually at 3 different times in our history, Trinidad and Tobago has been among the richest countries in the world, and for us to be this and to have this as our day-to-day now is unacceptable. And politics is not easy in Trinidad. It's nasty, it's racist, it's divisive. You know it. You've had your cuts from it. I know, and I know you know, and it's what keeps people. I know what keeps people like you going, and what keeps people like me going is just wanting a better country.
Yeah, but that was my next question. What drives you? Because at times I know it's not easy to carry so much. I mean, looking at everything that takes place and saying to yourself, you know what, this could be done better. This could be done with less. This could be done a little more efficient. This could be done to benefit the people who really need it. You know, all of these things pass through your mind. Then why stick at it? What drives you to stick at it?
Love of country. I mean, again, I see it in people like you. I see it in other activists and other political and social activists that I know, people who refuse to sell out still at this point. And I mean, you everything you touch, the price of food, the books, the price of school books. I don't know how people on a fixed income. I don't know how the poor manage. I really do not know how they manage in this country. We are some of the most taxed people on the planet. They tax your income, they tax your money when you spend it, they tax your possessions when you have it, they want to tax it when you die and leave it. I mean, it's insane. And now things like the property tax, and there's so much coming at Trinidadians. It's like you wake up in the morning and step into a boxing ring. It's not a fun place to live. We do not live what Trinidad and Tobago should be. This is like a bizarre version of two of the best placed islands on the planet. If somebody handed you Trinidad and Tobago in the raw and told you, do something with this, the last thing I think that you would do is enslave the people and exploit the resources. I think you'd make it such a beautiful place to live that foreigners would line up in the snow to get a visa to come here. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, yesterday, during that whole incident in Bagatelle, you made it quite clear in one of your postings that, listen, it's time for me to draw the line on certain issues. Perhaps you've found yourself in a situation where you've been banging your head against something, trying to get the narrative into the psyche of people, and at that point, have you said to yourself, listen, that is no longer what it has to be. It has to be people who have an understanding of how things need to be better, and they need to gravitate to what it is, or they don't. Did you draw that line yesterday? Did you say that's it?
I was so upset, Mikey, and I said, why is Bagatelle not standing up for Bagatelle? I couldn't believe I was watching Bacos crushing food at a time when people starving. You're gonna send heavy equipment to crush food? In the same week, I just put out a video, it gone globally viral. A private community in Trinidad just got millions of dollars free to take up the pitch and pave a road that didn't need paving. It was insane to see the contrast of the two things, and yeah, I really did get upset because they had sent me, them personally, what was happening to them, you know. And I said, don't send me no video. Don't tell me because you're going back and forth with the same crap. And I got angry. But today, of course, I talked to a couple lawyers. I said, look, these fellas have rights. These people have rights. And if they're on that land, if there's something called adverse possession, we need to find out. You know, and even if they're going to go back and go to the pain, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because I want to know when I go to sleep at night that I did my best for everybody. Just like you, again, Mikey, I'm telling you, just like you as watcher, and I think you could be anywhere in this world doing what you're doing for big money. And people don't realize that, you know. People don't realize the size of the sacrifice from your time with your family and your children, from your business and your ability, because we all have just one life. And you use that life serving others. You would think that people would say, you know what? If they're doing it, I'm doing it too. That's all it would take, you know. All it would take. We don't even need 100,000 people. We need just a good group of people. You talk about Bagatelle, Mikey, when the People's Partnership was in government, I was running for election as an independent in 2015. And the people from Rich Plain came to me to ask me for help because they up to that point, they hadn't had water for 62 years. No pipe, nothing. No water. And there was this guy in Wassa. He and I were very friendly. His name was Hooker. Plenty of people knew him because he was a hardworking, generous, helpful guy. And Hooker and myself and some people who were willing to donate, we were able to arrange pumps and tanks going up Rich Plain Hill to get water to the people on top. And the then opposition leader, Keith Rowley, and the councillor for Rich Plain, instead of applauding and saying, well done, reported me and reported Wassa to the Integrity Commission, saying that Wassa has become political and is helping a political candidate. That is his constituency, and the councillor, that is that person's constituency. And I couldn't believe that politics, and I mean, I was still young and a political virgin at the time, but I couldn't believe that it could be so stink and so nasty that people just want water, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a lot. You feel sometimes like, what's the point if Trinidadians just don't understand that all we have to do is stand up? They share the memes, you know. They share the memes and they know, I know that they know But they've done such a good job
I mean,
dividing us.
and that's the issue. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you have people who have all the reasons why things could be better, but they continue to make excuses as to why they can't fight to make it better. And that is sometimes, I don't know, is that so blurry at times that you say to yourself, listen, I can't apply my logic to something that simply does not add up, and I've had enough of it. But you're in it. And so it brings me to this point here. What does the upcoming general election mean? I mean, you have the opposition leader of Trinidad and Tobago, you the political leader of the United National Congress, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, putting the political party, the UNC, on election footing. And everyone else, of course, is preparing. How important is this upcoming general election?
Oh, this is, in many ways, if we play this wrong, this could be the last general election we ever have. Like if people here on the fringes of their attention, words like WEF, WHO, cashless society, and it just sounds like some of whatever the normal political parlance that passes through the conversation all the time. But this is a different time. What is happening now is a complete lockdown of human rights, civil liberty. Free speech is against the ropes. The fact that you and I can do this, when you call me and you message me and you say, hey, you want to show that, of course, I'll fight as long as I could, as long as we could. You know the 12th largest country in the world, Brazil, shut down Twitter yesterday.
Interesting.
Brazil shut down Twitter. The only thing stopping the United States of America from shutting down TikTok in America is the courts. So far, the courts have kept America. Free speech is so important, and people don't understand, and they won't know until they lose it. And after you lose it, to get it back is not like protest. It's not like stand up or stand down or boycott. When you lose these things, to get it back is civil war and bloodshed. And you had to leave your family and step out there and say, I'm going to put country first because I want you all to have a good country and I don't know if I'm coming back. Because that's what it'll get to. The governments of countries are putting the armed forces and law enforcement into a militarized mode against the people of their countries if they stand up against the insanity. When you talk about these things, it sounds insane coming out your mouth that Trinidad and Tobago has signed an agreement with the World Health Organization. That if the World Health Organization announced a pandemic tomorrow and say that every citizen on the planet must have this vaccine, whether you believe it's safe or not, and we just found out that the vaccines that they were forcing on us in the last pandemic were not safe at all, and it's killed a lot of people. It's maimed a lot of people. But they know we stood up. Plenty of us fought. I watched you in the savannah. I watched you all getting pepper spray and locked into the vans and taken every time. It's not like that. No. Now police officers, whether they like it or not, they're going to be sent into people's homes, into children's schools, and to force the vaccine. If the police officer doesn't want to do the job, they could be arrested and charged. The United Nations, World Health Organization could send forces. This is based on a treaty that Dr. Kibro signed, that they could send external forces into your country and do whatever it takes in the name of fighting a pandemic. The insanity of being able to say that that is a reality in our lifetime is insane. This election here, Kamla Persad-Bissessar is the only mainstream political leader. Now, we only have two mainstream political leaders. All the rest of the political leaders have an outside chance. Yeah, Pep could, all of a sudden, 900,000 people could get VAPs and voters into office. Sure, that's possible. But it's not really probable. You have two mainstream parties, BNF, UNC. And you know that Keith Rowley and his party has signed they've signed the WHO treaties, and they're trying to ram cashless society down our throats. Kamala Persad-Bissessar has stood up against it. And that means we who want to protect and defend our democracy, forget everything else, forget African and Indian, forget who like it so and who don't like it so, forget getting a section, forget past hurts. This is now about protecting your children. Mikey, you could be at work and you could find out, somebody could text you and say, boy, police inside your child's school, and they're lining them up and vaccinating them. And if you go down there, you want to go down there to risk getting arrested or get killed trying to defend your child. The insanity of that. Cashless society.
And basically what you're saying here, Mr. Alexander, is that all of these things are connected. I mean, this is not something that someone just dreamed a pie in the sky. It's all connected.
It's a plan. It's a plan. They've been working this plan for a long time. They've been putting things in place. It's coming to fruition now. It's coming to fruition now in our lifetime. And Dr. Fuad Khan, who is a UNC stalwart, former minister, I think he was a Senate or Speaker in the House or something.
Yeah.
He was a minister, I believe. And he is a very successful urologist. He is globally known for his medical proficiency. And when people like him and my brother and other doctors put their reputations and their practices and their income on the line, what kind is standing up against the World Health Organization? And I don't know if Trinidadians know the size of the debt we owe him now, because we have a response. Mikey, I know something, a lot of hyperbole, I know we come in an interview, but this is such a frightening situation, and I don't know if the people of this country are aware.
But what we're hearing from you is that you've taken us out of the entire issue of the conversation of, I'm going to be this until I die, and I'm going to be this and whatever, to the point of understanding just how important, how critical. I mean, basically you're talking about going to the polls this time currently in our politics. It's about saving lives.
Freedom and democracy. I am going to tour this country. I'm meeting with my whole team this Saturday, and we're starting a campaign, like if we're running for elections, and this campaign is going to be a bigger campaign than our election campaign, and we just campaign to let people know, to get them to understand that this next election is about freedom. If you have it in your mind at all to be angry about slavery coming back, it's about that. It's about the government being able to tell you if you could spend your money, when you could spend your money, who you could spend your money by. That is insane, and that's the power they're going to have. That's what cashless is.
No, what you're describing there is very much scary, compounded with the fact as well that this country had entered a lot of NDA agreements with foreign governments that we no longer know what we own or what we don't own, and all of this took place in the heights of the pandemic. So what you're telling us here is that all of these things were basically done and designed purposely, but what is the end result?
Mikey, we have agreements on the books in China, NAFTA, FACTA. We have agreements where governments have sold us. They've sold our liberties. The people of Trinidad and Tobago have to make a decision for themselves. No. That this is not about anything else. This is not about petty crime. This is not even about corruption and theft. I'm not even talking about those things anymore. Right now, the war is for our children's safety and freedom and democracy. And I told them, I said, and I had an opportunity in an international interview there, and they said for Trinidad to be included going forward. I said, well, exclude us. We could live. We don't have snow. People don't freeze to death in Trinidad. We have enough. We have the ability to feed ourselves. We were food independent up to the 70s. We were net food exporter up to the 70s. We could feed ourselves. We have 90,000 acres of farmland. We could feed ourselves. So once you could feed yourself, you could live. The world that is that's facing our children 20 years from now is matrix madness. It is obscene. It is war of the worlds insane. That there are people in this world that are going to use their global power for control. Mikey, there are malls in Trinidad. Try it. Go and apply to open a non-branded restaurant, especially something like a roti shop or doubles. This is not about race. What roti shops and doubles represent is an independent food supply away from the controlled mega chains. You notice all these small restaurants closing down one way or the other. They're buying you out, they're buying your brand, or they're buying your building from your landlord and cutting your lease. I mean, the things, I tell you a lot here, but this is coming down to control. When the PNM government in 1 week, this little black guy who's raising chickens on land that Paria claiming, that's not Paria's land to claim.
Yeah.
And if Paria had an ounce of decency after the murder of those 4 men in the pipeline, this could be a chance to say, you know what, we want to try and be better. Let's do some business with this guy. This young entrepreneur who could be out there riding around with an AR-15 in his hand is instead cleaning chicken money a whole day, and that is not an easy business to do.
So that what you're telling us, Phillip, is basically that all that's unfolding here, is it a system not designed any longer as far as the small or medium individual who wants to go out there? Because I was speaking earlier to Acting Assistant Superintendent of Police, Mr. Ashraf Ali, on the issue of extortion. And what you're talking about here, all of these things could be, of course, connected. Are people deliberately putting the pressure on business owners to either pay money or with the hopes of them going out of business because they want what they have? I mean, this is not far-fetched.
But get that video there, then I told Trinidad and Tobago that the crime that we have is joke crime. We could end all of this crime. You cannot have a country that is as small as this country and have a proliferation of gangs. We only have 1.4 million people. It's not easy to hide in plain sight in 1.4 million people. There is a train company in India that has 1.4 million employees. So it's not easy to hide that you're a gang running counterculture or subservice, that you're trying to overthrow or to fight or to bring war and to fight other gangs. That's not easy to hide. If the government wanted this crime to end, they would end the crime.
Yeah.
There are people in this country. I want to tell you something. I met a guy named Jimmy Fifi in 2014 through a mutual friend. And he told me he was one of the people. He used to operate one of the big hangars down in Chatham. And he took me to meet senior members of the armed forces who were, because I was working with the then Commissioner of Police, with the then Minister of National Security. And they wanted to get a meeting with him to understand why we're not going forward with securing the borders and the maritime security wall. And Patrick Manning had done massive work on securing Trinidad's borders and shutting it down. And if we wanted to stop crime, we would secure these borders, and it's so easy on the Trinidad as a postage stamp. You don't even have to do anything. You could call an ally. You could call, the New York City Coast Guard could lend you enough vessels to secure Trinidad's borders without affecting New York City. Trinidad is that small and it's that simple. Yeah. And they could, so the borders need to secure, so marine craft can't just run up any river and offload what they want. I mean, there's a guy who rents tools in Trinidad. He texted me because his boat parks up in yacht club, and I had said years ago, I said only in Trinidad and Tobago yacht clubs and marinas could exist without immigration and customs and police. When you bring your boat back from wherever you went, somebody had to take a look and see what you brought. Because if we have customs on the port and we have customs in the airport, but anybody that drive their Bertram out in the open waters, meet up with people, collect stuff, and come back and park up in their own yard, then there was a point.
Yeah.
The Joint Select Committee of Parliament was told by the head of Customs and Excise that they do not have the manpower, they do not have the machinery to check all of the containers coming into Trinidad. And what she said should have frightened everybody to action, and it didn't. That 50% of the containers that come off ships go straight into Trinidad without anybody even having a sniff or a look in. Where do you think the 40,000 illegal guns came from? You asked a question just now, and somebody could allude to the fact that maybe they turn in a blind eye to crime because it helps them. That if you have crime in the street, you could tell people, well, you know, we're trying to protect you by giving you a cashless society because the bandits can't keep your money. But that is not how the country's supposed to be run. And I remember this present Prime Minister, when he was opposition leader, saying if the government cannot deal with crime, the government need to resign. He's supposed to resign.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Alexander. When are you kickstarting this this tour around the country? When is that going to kickstart?
We're going to start in 2 weeks. We're going to start 2 weeks in St. Joseph. And we are our head office now is in the Bamboo, and we have moved there after the last election. And because we always had a Bamboo office and a Calcutta office.
Do you know what day in 2 weeks' time? Is it what day was that going to be?
It's going to be on a Saturday. So this Saturday, when we meet, we finalize everything. The team's meeting this Saturday. So I'll send you all the.
So I want to invite you back on the Wednesday before that Saturday. So.
Yeah.
Right, so we can touch on many of those things and other issues as well. So I want to squeeze in some calls here, but I want to thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
All right, so don't forget the Wednesday before you hit the road.
Absolutely, I'll keep in touch. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thanks a lot.